But there are a lot of entrepreneurs that I think stay at what I would call like a technician in their brand. If anybody's ever read the E-Myth, they talk about, why small businesses fail and what to do about it. And there's the entrepreneurs that get stuck as technicians, so they're hands-on doing the work. You have the managers that are managing the people doing the work. And then you have the owners who are really trying to step back from the day-to-day operations and cast a vision and systems for the business to actually operate. And I think what's kept me in it for 10 years is when I read that book, the summer that I started this business, I was like, well, I'm going to be an owner, not an operator, not a technician in my business. And in that, I've learned 10,000 new skills in this whole journey. And even today, 10 years into it, I am still learning so much about how the world works and about capitalism.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host. And today at RedBeard Outdoors, we talk about faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. I've got an amazing guest for you guys today. I'm super stoked to bring this person on. Heather from Heather's Choice is fantastic. Not to mention how amazing of an individual she is. We're going to get into her story a little bit here, along with the previous episode that I did with her, and she was on Shark Tank. So go look up that episode as well of when Heather from Heather's Choice was on Shark Tank and got to pitch to the sharks and how that ended up. Check out that episode as well. And of course, if you're looking at picking up anything from Heather's Choice, head over there and use code RedBeard to support Heather, her company, the people that she's got hired over there. And of course, you're supporting me here at the show. You're getting the best dehydrated meals on the market for hunters, outdoorsmen, for on-the-go parents even, and we'll get into how that applies as well. But you definitely want to check out Heather's Choice. They have some amazing meals, even for people. They're all gluten-free. I love the bison chili, but I recently tried the grass-fed beef spaghetti, and the spaghetti is gluten-free, and it was phenomenal. The spice that she uses, the meat tastes like real meat. I mean, because it is, but it doesn't feel like it's just rehydrated meat. So go check out Heather's Choice during or after this episode. I really appreciate you guys. I also want to remind you that if you are watching this in October, go get entered into the $4,500 plus giveaway on a bow setup. Everything from a sight to a bow from Hoyt to a Morel target and everything in between, arrows and more. Go check it out, guys. I want you to get entered. And last but not least, if you like this episode, leave a review if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support, and leave a comment. Any questions you have for Heather through this episode, or any questions for me, I definitely appreciate it, or even just a thumbs up. But either way, it all helps. Thank you so much, guys. Now let's get into this amazing conversation with my friend Heather from Heather's Choice. Welcome back, guys, to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host. We have an outstanding guest here, and we're actually kind of reminiscent. It's been over 2 years now at this point that Heather has come on the podcast, and Heather Kelly from Heather's Choice. If you guys haven't heard of Heather's Choice, first off, where you been? I talk about her products all the time. When people go backpacking with me or hunting with me, it's definitely in my food kit because they are just clean ingredients, amazing meals, and they don't take up half your backpack with the packaging either. And there's no fluff in it. So all of that to be said, Heather is doing an amazing job. I actually just found out it's been 10 years since she launched Heather's Choice. And there's some big things happening. If you guys don't watch Shark Tank, well, they were on Shark Tank, and we'll get into that as well. And some other big things that are going on with Heather's Choice. So with that being said, Heather, for people that don't know who you are, who are you?
Who am I? That's a great question. First off, thanks so much for having me. My name's Heather, and I'm calling in from my hometown of Anchorage, Alaska. I was born and raised here, and in 2014, I had this little inkling of an idea that I could start a line of dehydrated food for my fellow dirtbag pack rafting friends here in Alaska. And that has taken me now on a 10-year journey of building an outdoor brand that is a consumer packaged goods product I feel like in the last 10 years, I've learned to speak an entirely different language and have been getting my butt kicked in the arena of building a business. But you know what? 10 years, we're still here.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's a big deal. We were talking about, you know, Heather came on when it was episode 58, so now we're approaching 400. By the time this comes out, it might actually be episode 400. I don't have all that memorized. I just know I put them out twice a week, so I don't have the numbers memorized. I should be good like that, but I'm not. So anyway, episode 58 to 400, that's a 2-year gap there, and seeing the growth that Heather has had over 10 years. And I obviously didn't know you when you started the company, but 10 years is a long time to stick with something, any kind of company. Most people, even entrepreneurs, will build something and maybe even sell it and move on. Those kind of serial entrepreneur people. And then there's other people that just realize it's not for them, because you're not giving up a 9 to 5 to work another 9 to 5. You're giving up a 9 to 5 to work 24/7 at that point. And Heather, there's a lot of things too that I love about the story that Heather's got, where you start in Anchorage, Alaska, which, if you guys haven't been up to Alaska, I've never been up to Anchorage, but even in Ketchikan, which apparently was the first city in Alaska, it still seemed extremely small. And so there's not much resources to pull from up there. You can't just go to your local Walmart and say, oh, I need this and that and the other, or order Amazon. That's not how that works. And so to pull from the limited resources that you had and provide jobs and opportunities for people in that community, which is another big deal for entrepreneurs. If you are hiring people, you're bringing them on, you're either providing benefits or paycheck or both, or all of the above. You've got all of that burden on your shoulders as well, and all of that takes a toll that people don't necessarily think about. And it's something that, for me, if you know about Montana Knife Company, you've heard Brandon Haraho say, he doesn't say how many knives they've sold or how much money they're worth. He tells people, we have 60 employees. Like, that's what he's proud of. And that's a big deal, having employees in your company at all, whether it's 5, 10, 60, it's a big burden and a big deal. So I appreciate that about what Heather's done as well, taking care of the families in her community. So with all of that, a 10-year journey, that's a big deal. Why have you stuck with freeze-dried food for 10 years? What's so passionate about? I mean, you can love food, right? But freeze-dried food isn't necessarily what people would think of for a 10-year journey. So what got you started down that?
Oh my gosh, what did get me started? Honestly, I think that for me, I'm not the person that's in the kitchen actually making the product. And that's one way that somebody could build a business, is say, I'm going to keep it small and I'm going to do as much as I can physically, maybe me and a partner or me and a couple of people. But there are a lot of entrepreneurs that I think stay at what I would call like a technician in their brand. If anybody's ever read the E-Myth, they talk about, why small businesses fail and what to do about it. And there's the entrepreneurs that get stuck as technicians, so they're hands-on doing the work. You have the managers that are managing the people doing the work. And then you have the owners who are really trying to step back from the day-to-day operations and cast a vision and systems for the business to actually operate. And I think what's kept me in it for 10 years is when I read that book, the summer that I started this business, I was like, well, I'm going to be an owner, not an operator, not a technician in my business. And in that, I've learned 10,000 new skills in this whole journey. And even today, 10 years into it, I am still learning so much about how the world works and about capitalism and building a business. And it's such an incredible experience for me to be learning something new every day. And I think that people don't realize how much satisfaction that I get from that. I don't show up every day and chop onions and make soup. I don't. I gave that up very early on in this journey.
A lot of tears shed chopping those onions.
Oh my gosh. If you come
because of the onions, that's just what you would do to mask the fact that you were bawling your eyes out.
Oh my gosh. If you come to Heather's Choice and you see our kitchen, we definitely have a row of onion goggles for people to wear, because again, people don't think about when you're making 40 gallons of chili at a time,
Mm.
it's a lot of onions to chop by hand, and it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. How many Band-Aid stations do you guys have going?
Oh my gosh, it's such a ridiculous inside joke for us that if Brad tells somebody, be careful, Brad's my business partner, be careful, don't cut yourself, the knives have just been sharpened, it's like, they're doomed. Somebody's gonna cut themselves and like something's gonna happen. So yeah, that was a whole learning lesson that I had to go through in starting this business. It's like a little thing called workman's comp that it turns out is really expensive, and you have to have it for the day that somebody cuts a finger off.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So, we're talking a little bit about this. You've gotten up to the point where you can make up to 300 meals a day. Which that's a lot, but if I'm thinking about that, I'm like, well, if I eat 1 to 2 a day, going on a 14-day trip, like, and I'm just one person, that's a lot of meals. But at the same time, you can either, like you said, ramp it up to where you're doing a 24-hour operation, which, I mean, there's pros and cons to that, obviously. Sleep being one of the cons, you probably lose a little bit of that. But outside of that, you've now moved on to, I guess, let's go ahead and hit on, you started from your rafting buddies saying, hey, you should do this. You started there. And then for anyone wanting to know a little bit more about the backstory, I recommend going back and listening to episode 58, where my video quality was not as good. Yours wasn't as good. I think you were sitting on a floor in
Probably.
one of your rooms.
That sounds really accurate.
We've kind of moved up a little bit in the last 2 years. And now to the point where you were on Shark Tank, which I kind of want you to talk people through that experience, because it's a fun show to watch. Every once in a while I'll tune into some episodes and kind of look at how these guys, the investors, are wanting to use their money, what they hear from entrepreneurs, what they like, what they don't like, how they kind of banter back and forth, and decide if they're going to invest or not. Talk to us a little bit about that experience and how that's changed the trajectory of Heather's Choice.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good story. And I promise I will write a book someday about my 72 hours in LA filming for Shark Tank, because it was something else. So as I mentioned, when I started the business, I was literally making meals in my apartment 8 at a time for my fellow outdoorsmen. Very quickly, we were adopted by the hunting community, and I realized that you guys going on these 14-day trips eat a lot of food. And so again, very quickly, I was like, whoa, I can't just make 8 meals at a time. This isn't working.
I'll say this too, just real quick, interjecting this here. It's not even just eating a lot of food. There's a lot of times where, I'll be honest, I come back and I just want to go back to sleep. Like, I don't want to eat. I know I have to. I need to, from the calories that I've burned through the day. But you get fed up with the crap you can pick up from Walmart, or just the mush that things turns into whenever you put water in it, or like, it's not fun anymore. And so you almost don't want to eat because of that. So, there's all of that, plus all the crap that you're putting in your body, which, for people not understanding this, like, compared to maybe this is your Super Bowl, right? You've trained all year. You've tried to eat good or better than good all year. And then, you see these people pulling up in wall tents with Mountain Dew, Little Debbie's, and all this other crap. It's like, why would you give your race car or your monster truck, whatever you want to call your body, the crap fuel when you're supposed to be performing at your best during that time, during the hunt and the pack out, and hopefully if you kill something and all of that? You want a clear mind, you want a not messed up gut, and you don't want to be walking around hungry and exhausted because you didn't get enough food and sustenance in your body. So just want to interject that there. That's all of that is hunting for me. And I could go off on a soapbox about that because people use it as a reason to eat like crap. We all have.
Oh, yeah.
But you shouldn't. You should want to feed yourself with good food, good tasting food, which is how I came across your company a couple years ago. But anyway, continue.
No, I love this. I could join you on this soapbox of feed people good food. They will feel better. So like I said, I started this so flippin' small. I started the company with $5,000 in my apartment, and Flash forward to 2023. It's January. It's dark here in Alaska. There's not much to do. And so I find myself just stumbling over to abc.com/Shark Tank and applying to be on the show. Because if you're an entrepreneur and you tell people you own a business, the first thing they say is, "Oh my gosh, have you ever thought about going on Shark Tank?" I had heard it enough times that I hit that critical tipping point that I'm like, fine, I will throw my name in the hat. There's something like 50,000 companies that apply to be on the show every year. So then April rolls around and I get a phone call. Ring, ring. Hi, my name's so-and-so and I'm with the hit TV show Shark Tank, and we wanted to conduct an interview and see if you would be a good fit. So now we go from the 50,000 to probably about 1,000 people that they interview very casually just to see, like, are you a real person? Do you have any personality? Do you have a good business story? So we pass through that gate, and then they give you 2 weeks time to sign over the rights to your firstborn child and to record a 5-minute pitch video that you answer 25,000 questions in. Like, it's a whole production just to even be considered to be on the show. So we submit all that stuff and they say, okay, well, either you'll hear from us or you won't. And you wait. And you wait and see. So sure enough,
have the time to tell you no. It's just,
no.
You don't hear from us, it's a no.
Yeah. Right. So we get to June. I get an email from the producers. Hey, you've been selected to, come and film. So now it's 3 months of prep work to create a 90-second pitch, to develop your, stage presence, to get your outfit approved because you can't have logos on anything. Like, that's a whole production. So went through the 3 months of prep, and then before I knew it, it was time to fly to LA and film in the tank.
Wow. So hold on real quick. This was back in, so we talked in 2022.
Yeah.
Following January is when you applied, so 2023.
Yeah.
And then now we're, nearing the end of 2023, so last year. And you're flying out to LA. It's funny. I don't even pick out my outfit for the next day. I can't imagine three months ahead of time.
Totally. Yeah, it's television. Everything has to be curated. Yeah. Everything has to be super dialed. And yeah, it was a wild experience. So here I am. It's early September. I'm getting on an airplane to fly down there and pitch. Going into this, I was pretty clear that my efforts in fundraising were not working. I had spent the entire year of January trying to raise $3.5 million. Sorry, the whole year of 2023, starting in January, because I knew I needed a really sizable chunk of change to pick up, move my business out of Alaska, build a new kitchen, build a new facility, and make more than 300 meals a run.
So just real quick, let's kind of say why you're feeling the need to move out of Alaska. I know I kind of touched on it with very limited resources, not much being up there other than amazing salmon fishing, bear hunting, moose hunting, all the cool things. But as far as business goes, not necessarily the best place to scale and grow. But was that the main reason for the move?
Yeah, one of the major reasons for the move is as Heather's Choice has grown, our distribution all across the United States has grown. So we're now in 132 REI stores, 85 Sportsman's Warehouse. We have another retail partner I don't think I can disclose yet, but that's another 120 doors. So you can kind of imagine pretty quickly, so you're exporting 99% of your product from Anchorage to the lower 48. And just the outbound shipping on that is a huge deterrent for customers.
Does FedEx provide a discount in bulk?
When you do about 50,000 orders a year. So, we have a little ways to go.
They give you $1 off. Okay.
Totally. Or like in the year 2022, I think I spent $60,000 shipping raw materials from Seattle to Anchorage. And it's like, you know what? I can think of a million other ways I'd like to spend that money. So
you're shipping, you're bringing in. So it's not even that you're able to find. It's so limited on resources. You're not even able to find the fresh ingredients. You have to have them shipped up to you from Seattle. So, man, that's okay. That that definitely puts it into perspective. That's a lot of shipping fees plus, you're kind of gambling. I mean, you're hoping someone else picked out some good fresh produce for you because there's stuff you have to throw out, and everything you throw out, I bet you look at like, it's like when I look at my kids and they're throwing out, some elk meat or something like, oh, that's hard. Like,
Totally, totally.
yeah.
And the romantic vision that I've always had of, sourcing everything local here in Alaska, it's not proven to be a reality. Even sourcing something like grass-fed bison in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
there's maybe 2 bison ranches. They actually don't want to grow exponentially. So if I go to them and say, hey, I'm willing to buy like 12 bison a year, they're like, that's all right. We're actually not that interested.
Wow.
So that's been one of the many, many, many steep learning curves I've gone through as an entrepreneur. So picking up and moving was critical. As I was out pitching investors in 2023, the really loud feedback was your market size isn't big enough. Which I imagine for someone like you sit back and you're like, you know what, there's a lot of me out there in the world. There's a lot of dudes who love to go hunting in the Western states who will eat 20 to 30 Heather's Choice meals in a year. Like, that's a sizable business. Yes, until you are talking to somebody who's looking for a business that's going to scale to 50 or $100 million in 3 to 5 years' time. And I think the entirety of the backpacking food market is about 140 million a year. So as an investor, you're like, well, unless you are going to essentially dominate the market and be 70% of this whole nut, the market opportunity isn't big enough for you to scale this to be, again, or 50 or $100 million thing.
And that's kind of where you have to, you have to make that choice of, do I lower the quality to increase the profit margins, or, and you're not willing to sacrifice that, obviously, because again, I'll just say 2 of my favorites are the bison chili and the salmon chowder, which seem to be favorites because anytime I go to order some, they're always out.
They're always out. Oh my gosh.
Those are amazing. But yeah, no, the quality, again, it's not even just the quality from the moment it hits your tongue, your taste buds, but also, your gut is a big deal. You don't want to be wasting time with a jacked up gut while you're out hunting when you've already taken time off work, away from your family, and all of this other stuff. You can't control weather, but you really can control how your body reacts by the food you're putting into it, and that's a big deal. So anyway, yeah, that's and I'm willing to say, like, I know there's a lot of hunters out there, but then you take out the guys that do the wall tent camping with the crap food. So that's a good majority, or I wouldn't say majority, a good chunk of the hunting population. And then you have other people that literally don't plan and they pick stuff up at Walmart on the way out. And then you have, that takes out another chunk. So, and we're really not that. People complain about having a lot of hunters in their units, but I kind of wish there were more hunters coming into the space, because I feel like as the older generation is dying out, we're going to start losing the interest, because it's hard work. It's not always fun. It can be boring. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that's not cool like the younger generation wants. So all of that to be said, I can understand why investors would be like, it's really not that big of a market for just hunters. So anyway.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm kind of faced with this really harsh reality that nobody wants to write me a $3 million check to essentially feed hunters 3 months out of the year. Understandable. All right, this isn't working. My strategy's not working. So I was going into this Shark Tank pitch ready to sell the Packaroon dream. And for anybody who doesn't know, Packaroons are coconut cookies for your backpack. We consider them our gateway drug product. Everybody loves them. It's how we get people hooked. And I was ready to say,
don't buy them. They're my favorite.
Yeah, totally. They're so good. And again, everybody loves them. And I'm like, all right, I can sell Packaroons to anybody. I can sell them to kids. I can sell them to moms. I can sell them to dudes. It doesn't matter. Packaroons are scalable. It's a product I can take into the market and sell $1 billion worth of, a la Cliff Bar. So I get to LA. I'm really broke. Like, really broke. You know, what happens to businesses as they're fundraising is you're kind of racing against this timeline where you can see, I'm going to run out of money by X date, so I have to close my fundraising round before all the money evaporates. The money had evaporated a long time ago, but I was still fundraising and still trying. So I get on the airplane to LA and the bank account is overdrawn by 15 grand and it's payroll week. It's a Tuesday and I just have to shut my laptop and say, I have no way to cover this. I'm filming on a Wednesday tomorrow and I have to deal with this by Friday. But like, got to keep my head in the game. I need to go run this race a la pitch to the Shark Tank, hope for the best, and figure out how the heck I'm going to pay my employees by Friday. So that's pretty stressful going into this race.
Yeah.
So
most
then
people stress about not being able to maybe get the groceries they want, not necessarily what they need.
Get bigger problems.
15 grand in the hole, and however much payroll is for that week. Like that, again, going back to, you have other people's livelihoods on your shoulders, and not to mention everything else that life decides to throw at you. You know, someone flips you off or almost runs you over, or whatever's going on that day. You know, that's crazy. That's intense.
It was a lot. So I basically go to the hotel. I managed to get a night of sleep, wake up on Wednesday, and I'm going to pitch, and I'm like, I am going to sell the pack room dream, right? These people, I'm going to demonstrate to these people that I have a product that is scalable, that is ready to go to market, and that's how this is going to go. So then I find myself at Sony Picture Studios, and it's, you know, they film 8 companies in a day. I'm number 7 of 8. So I basically sit around and wait all day long for my turn to go.
You get to see everyone else's reactions as they're coming out. And
my gosh.
It's like a TV show where you just...
Yeah, it is. It's reality TV at its finest. Yeah. I then get the notice like, hey, you're going on soon. It's time to start rehydrating food. And I just want everybody to imagine for a second, you've created this product from nothing. It's something that's basically homemade. And you're getting ready to serve Mark Cuban a meal in a bag with a titanium spork. And you're like, I actually don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if any of these people have ever been camping before or if they're even going to like the food. But it's all going to be on camera. Here we go. So I'm frantically rehydrating meals, keeping them in crock pots to try to keep them warm because nobody wants to eat cold rehydrated food, especially on TV. And before I know it, I will
say I've done that before, and the bison chili is still good cold.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad.
Because I didn't want to put more water in it to water it down. And I'm like, how do I do? I'm just going to eat it. I'm hungry. It was good. So
that's great. So before you know it, like I'm standing at the end of the hallway. And what people maybe don't know about Shark Tank is it is not rehearsed. Sure, I've rehearsed my pitch 90,000 times, but you get one shot at this. You're standing at the end of the hallway and they say, ready, set, go. And you hit your mark on the carpet. It's like this little tiny piece of tape. And the lights go on. You're standing there looking at Mr. Wonderful, waiting for the most agonizing 60 seconds of your life for them to say, okay, begin, because they're adjusting, you know, again, lighting, cameras, all of that. I deliver my pitch, and I proceed to watch all 5 sharks devour these meals in a bag. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had. This should be marketed as the best damn meal in minutes. And they're like getting up, and you don't see this on the episode, but they're like getting out of their seat, exchanging meals between them. And I'm just like, this is not going to plan. I'm so glad they love the food, but like nobody's talking about the packarons right now. All they care about are these flippin' meals in a bag. So it kind of starts from there, where they all start barking questions simultaneously. And you're prepared for this. You know that all 5 of them are going to ask you questions all at the exact same time. And you have to like try to manage whose questions you're going to answer. And I realized, okay, nobody wants to talk about the packaroons.
Mm-hmm.
All they want to talk about is these meals. And it's very loud and clear that they could care less about the backpacking food market. And they want to know why I am not selling this to college kids, soccer moms, military, uh, Trader Joe's, Costco. And I'm like, I guess they missed the part where I said that we make these 300 at a time in my hometown of Anchorage, Alaska. Clearly, that detail got missed.
Yeah.
So, if anybody watches the episode, it basically ends in me being in a puddle of tears. I was in there for an hour. You get to see 7 minutes of it, but the really loud feedback was, Heather, you are not thinking big enough. You have a great product and a great story and a great brand, and you came in here telling us that you want to feed backpackers when you should be feeding this to everybody, and you need to get out of your own way. Super deflating. I literally crawl my way out of there. And as far as I know, this is over. This business, this journey, everything, it is over right there in that minute. And I cried more tears than the Colorado River. Like, it was devastating. So you can imagine that I then still have to figure out, how am I going to pay my employees on Friday? So I'll save that for like part 2 of the story. But back to your question about kind of what's changed. This has gone from being my little hobby of dehydrating food for my friends to being presented with the opportunity to feed everybody. Anybody that is away from the convenience of a fridge, a microwave, their home kitchen. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this could be $100 million a year business if I could figure out how to actually make this stuff at scale, because our process is very unique. It is super homespun. We literally chop all the onions. We literally bloom the spices before adding in the ground meat, and like everything has such a rich flavor profile because it's made with so much care. But like you said earlier, well, the fast and easy way to do this, to scale it, to make a whole truckload of money, is to ditch all of that, find a process that's infinitely easier, and just put this stuff on Walmart shelves all across the country and get this show on the road. So yeah, I would say the last 12 months have been sort of a dark night of the soul for me, of trying to figure out, like, do I have values? Would I just take the money and run and, like, not even bother with all the love and the care and the intention that goes into something like the grass-fed bison chili? So yeah, it's been a really rowdy 12 months for me, of not only, one, living through near bankruptcy, because let's be real, like, Heather's Choice was dead when I walked out of the tank. There was no hope. And miraculously, we managed to survive, and the business is healthier and better than ever. But I've also been presented with the opportunity to literally strip the brand of everything that it stands for, to put my face on the package and sell it in soup cups in Walmart, and decided, nope, I'm going to walk away from that opportunity, and I'm going to stick to what I believe in, which is everything that you've said. I believe that if people eat better food, they feel better and they perform better in the world and they show up as better people. So now, how do I actually grow this business in a meaningful way to where it does make money, it does serve a larger market of people, but how do I do it with my integrity intact? And that's been really hard.
Yeah. So with that, first, I think Shark Tank should do a behind the scenes, like, cuts or whatever, just to see people getting prepared for this. But I think you framed it really well. Can't imagine, being told that you're not thinking big enough, when in the back of your head you're like, I can't even do payroll this week. What do you mean I'm not thinking big enough? I'm still trying to dig out of a hole, let alone get to this scale, And that's something, I mean, you literally had your back up against the wall and seeing that, that happen. So I guess fill us in, what ended up happening at the end of, Shark Tank? Did you get an offer, a couple of offers, no offers? Like what? No offers.
No offers. It was really interesting to see, one, they saw me and saw that I was a perfectionist and a control freak and like very type A, which is very accurate. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's not what they were looking for. They also saw that I was very dogged and like, we are going to make this stuff ourselves and we are going to maintain the quality, and I'm not willing to compromise on that. Which again, for somebody that's trying to take a business from $1 million to 50 million in a 3 to 5 year time frame, you have to make compromises, right? You just have to. And I was abundantly clear that I was not willing to compromise on the quality of our product. So I walked out of there without a deal and essentially just had to go back to my hotel room and cry 10,000 more tears and accept that this was over. And that I was going to die on this hill of maintaining the quality of the product that I set out to make at that point, 9 years ago. A lot transpired between September and January when our episode aired. I had an inkling. Okay. I'll tell you the inkling that I had. So we film about 100 plus companies, but they only air 80 of them. So you can go through this whole rigmarole and they can
get any publicity,
and nothing happens, right? Like they decide that was a dumpster fire, that person didn't have any charisma, the sharks didn't like the product, whatever they decide, they never put it on air. Well, as I was leaving there, the guy driving me in the van back to the hotel is like, I've been working on this show a long time, and I don't say this to many people, but that shit's gonna air. Because it was so dramatic. There was so much drama. It was such great television. So I'm like, okay, mission critical, do not die before our air date, which you don't actually know when it's going to air. So like my only objective was just to stay alive so that we could get to our air date.
Got under your skin being a type A, which you're a very nice type A person. You're not a witch. In a way, but I can also see like you were a college athlete. And again, for people that don't know that story, go back and listen to the other episode, but college athlete, obviously love the outdoors. You're physically active. You enjoy going to the gym, taking care of yourself and taking care of other people. And there's a reason why you've been successful is because you have control over those processes, which, is something that can be hard to let go. In a lot of ways, and I'm sure, and I could just from your face right there, you know where I'm going with this. But no, I'm sure that's something that is hard to let go, even as an owner. You have to step back and give more permissions to certain other people to get their hands in it, and it can be worrisome, but also could go really well. But man, I can't imagine having to wait to see if it is going to air, and then if it is going to air, what date. Not knowing any of that, and just kind of like trying to forget about it, but you never really forget about it. It's in the back of your mind, and no one's really going to tell you until they do, and you don't know when that's going to be. Like that bugs me just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like every company that goes on Shark Tank, I'll say two things. First off, the Shark Tank experience is a once in a lifetime, incredible experience. I would recommend to any and every entrepreneur. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. The team is so well dialed. It is world class. And the people who work at Shark Tank, when they get those jobs, they never let go of them. So like no shade being thrown at the Shark Tank experience or that team. But secondly, they're very clear that there are no guarantees. Even if you get an air date, something could happen. The network could cut the episode or like whatever. There's too many variables. So they just make it abundantly clear. There's no guarantees going into this. We will give you as much heads up as we can, but you're just going to have to wait and see if you actually get aired. So
they're not just being jerks about it. It's just kind of
No. So we figure out that we're going to air January 5th. And in that meantime, I am actively trying to figure out, how do I get money in the door? So I go back to my investors and I say, hey, we've got this pending Shark Tank episode coming. We're expecting it to be a really big influx of orders and open us up to a whole new audience of people. I'm able to raise, a few $100,000 and I pour it all into making inventory. In the meantime, I'm also 4 months into applying for an SBA loan, thinking like, okay, maybe this is the path to get this couple $1,000,000 that I need to build a bigger kitchen, have some scalability, and get the show on the road. So it's December 21st. We're getting ready to take a holiday break. I've got inventory on the shelf. I've managed to pay all my employees. And I've submitted 25,000 documents for this SBA loan. The loan officer says, have a great trip. You're going away for a vacation for Christmas. And when you get back, we'll be signing loan docs and issuing checks. And there's $2.6 million I'm going to have to work with. I'm like, great. Brad and I go to Mexico. I am sitting on the beach and I check my email on December 29th.
Wrong. Don't do that. You can't check. No, don't check your email while you're on vacation. What's wrong with you?
Yes, this is back to being a type A person. And I get this email saying, hey, can we talk? From my loan officer. Which we all know, a text message, an email that says, can we talk? It just immediately, like, your heart sinks and you're like, this is not good.
It's not good in relationships. It's not good from your loan officer. It's not good from anybody.
No, we have a hard rule at Heather's Choice. Do not send me a Slack message saying, can we talk? If you want to talk, you come to me right away and we will have that chat. So I go get some internet. I pour myself like a little shot of mezcal and I go hop on Zoom to talk to these. No, I did not. I should have. And you can just see immediately as they pop up on Zoom, like both these gals, my loan officers, are devastated. And they're like, Heather, the loan committee shot this down from the sky. There is no loan. And poof, $2.6 million just evaporated into thin air. And I, once again, am like, you gals realize this is going to be the end of us. If we don't have this money to move and to, fund the business, it's over. They're like, yep. So you can imagine I shut my laptop, go back, pour myself another mezcal, and turn to my sweetheart.
Was shutting the laptop, did the laptop survive you shutting it?
It did. Okay. It was not the laptop's fault. I did not take all of my aggression out on the laptop. Instead, I go to Brad and I'm like, okay, I guess here we are yet again for the second time this year saying like, this is over.
You're like, hey, Brad, do you want to start looking at properties here in Mexico?
Yes.
We're going back.
Yes. We are not going back. We are staying here. So, we get through the trip and I thought that we had the Shark Tank episode, coming up on the 5th. I'm like, well, I'm not going to quit, a week before our air date. I'll at least see what happens. We get back to the States. It's January 3rd. Hey, Heather, just letting you know, your episode got pushed to January 12th. I'm like, okay, fine. Sure, I will hang in there yet another week. Meanwhile, I think I started the year with like negative $5,000 in the bank. So I'm still in absolute survival starvation mode because I've poured every dollar that I raised into inventory, anticipating that we're going to get this big fat SBA loan. We survived to January 12th. Our air date happens and we sell all of the inventory in a matter of like 48 hours. Poof, it's all sold, all gone, which was such an incredible experience. I think when our episode aired on the East Coast, we did $50,000 in Amazon sales in 4 hours. It was nuts.
Wow.
And then in comes, the flood of customer outreach saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get this. I recently had shoulder surgery and I can't cook for myself. I have MS and I can't stand on my feet for 30 minutes at a time to cook for myself. This is going to be a godsend. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
I am a FedEx pilot and I have celiac disease and I get flown all across the country and there's nothing for me to eat. This is perfect. Like an overwhelming outpouring of feedback from people of thank you for not compromising on the quality of your product. I can't wait to use this in my everyday life. Keep going. Like, oh, good. Okay. So I guess we're still in it. We're still gonna stay after it. But meanwhile, we still don't have any money. Still are just dying to figure out how do we fund this business, because what people don't understand, I don't think most people understand, is that growth costs money, especially when you're making a physical product. You have to buy all those raw materials, you have to hire all those people, buy all the equipment, get everything there, make the product, send it to your retailers, and then wait 30, 60, 90 days for them to pay you. And while you're waiting to get paid, you are still going back and like making more stuff. So Heather's Choice this year in 2024 will have grown about 70% year over year, which is mind-boggling. We are just on the precipice of break even. So, not yet turning a profit, but we are way freaking closer than we were last year. And I am still poised with the question of how do I raise enough money to get us more capacity and start saying yes to opportunities rather than saying no to all of the growth potential that we have. Because again, we still have our 1,600 square foot kitchen in Anchorage, Alaska, serving a national market of not just backpackers anymore, but everybody's.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a wild year. And like I say, I will write a book someday, and I hope that it's a good read.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Honestly, and you're still in the journey of it at the same time. You're not quite at the light at the end of the tunnel.
No.
So fundraising is where you're at right now.
Yep.
Okay. So because the plan is to move, do you have a date that you would like to move by?
By the end of the year. So I have my lease. Yes, this has been 2 years in the works now that we've been trying to move and fundraising for it. We have our leases here in Anchorage through the end of December. It's September now. And my fantasy is that I will successfully raise and I will successfully shut down my kitchen in Anchorage and completely move the business out of Alaska and have 2025 where we are totally set up to, again, start saying yes to opportunities because we finally have the cash resources and the production capability to actually grow the business. Because I think that for a lot of people, they maybe don't realize this either. When you take on your first investment dollar from an angel or any investor, you are going down a path of growth. You're basically saying, I am going to grow this business to the best of my ability to get it to the point that it is, a acquisition target for somebody so that the investor gets their money back. There is no, hey, investor, thanks for your dollar. I decided that I'm going to run this for the next 30 years and just do it all myself and you're never getting your money back. Like, that's not part of the game. So for me, growing the business, growing to the point that somebody does want to come along and buy the Heather's Choice brand is a really big part of the strategy. And the reason somebody would want to buy the Heather's Choice brand is because of the quality of our products, the distribution that we have, the revenue that we're booking, the profits that we're generating. So I feel really clear on where I'm trying to take the brand. And it just takes time and money, two things that, everybody needs more of.
Yeah. I mean, you can, I always say that my wife hates me saying this because I'm the spender, she's the saver. But I'm always like, like when we go do something, she's like, why are we? I'm like, babe, like even even if I did lose my job tomorrow, you can always make more money, right?
Can always make more money.
Make more time. And so that is definitely a valuable resource. Obviously, you need money to do certain things like grow a business and scale it and move and all of those things. But in the long run, I mean, the fact that you've dedicated 10 years of your life to this pursuit and you were willing to literally let it die on that hill of this is what we are doing, period. That's a big deal. And honestly, that's something that a lot of people don't understand. It's hard for them to even hold a job down for a year or two without getting bored or finding some kind of drama that they don't like, or their boss did this, or how dare they pass them up on a promotion, or et cetera, on and on. And 10 years of grinding it out to the point where you're just getting to where you can break even. People don't see that. It's a very similar story to Phorm and Andy Frisella. For people that know, I've been working with Phorm for years at this point and love what they do over there. But he talks about sleeping on a pea stain mattress in the back of their shop, where the first month that they sold $600 worth of product, they were ecstatic, even though they were like $60,000 in debt on credit cards because they bought their inventory on credit cards. So like, it's something that it takes. It's not very often that people just like create a widget that doesn't cost any overhead and become millionaires. Like, that's just not how that works. You have to have those morals. You have to have that standard that you stand by and actually believe in. Are the people that are working for you right now, are they going to move with you, or do you have to find new employees?
That's a great question. In this scenario where we would move, and one of the really loud bits of feedback from the sharks is, Heather, you kind of need to find areas of the business that you can outsource. What are the things that you might be owning as a function of the business that you actually don't need to own? So an example would be order fulfillment. Right now, we fulfill all of our orders here from Anchorage. The shipping is not cheap. Having a warehouse, having staff to do that, it's labor intensive, it's time intensive. So even being able to say, okay, I'm going to take all my inventory and I'm going to ship it to a logistics company right now I'm looking at Reno, and let them pick and pack the orders. That's like one more function of the business that we just don't need to own. That's not like what really makes us money. It just needs to happen. Yep. Similarly, with looking at outsourcing the production of, let's say, the packaroons as my first step. Right now we make, let's say, 2,000 cookies a run. So we'll stir the batter, make the cookies, dehydrate them, package them, put them into 10-pack boxes. That takes us 2 days effectively to make 2,000 units. By going to a co-manufacturer and saying, here's the recipe for packaroons, here's my packaging and design, here's the box I want them in, and I want them stacked on a pallet of 36,000 cookies a pallet, they're going to do 20,000 cookies in an 8-hour shift. And still the same cookie, still the same recipe, but somebody else has the capacity to make literally 10 times as much in a fraction of the time. So all of that to say, I do have, I would say, at least half my staff that wants to make this move with us. And it's also going to be a change in the business model from self-manufacturing to co-manufacturing, with the caveat that we're not going to do it unless we can maintain or even improve the quality of our product. So that's been a little bit of mental gymnastics for me, is what if in this transition that is very scary, again, letting go of control, having somebody I don't know picking and packing the orders rather than, my employee Quinn, even though that's a scary transition for me as a business owner, what if the customer experience is even better? What if somebody gets their stuff faster and they get it cheaper, and I don't have to worry about buying 25 different sizes of cardboard boxes anymore? Won't that be great? So I'm really trying to,
like, the people that wait till 2 weeks before hunting season to order their food.
Yeah, if you wait 2 weeks to order from Heather's Choice, you're just not getting it this year. Versus in this scenario where we do change the business model to outsourcing the manufacturing, outsourcing the fulfillment, and focusing on developing products, marketing, selling, all of that, all of a sudden it just takes all these different lids off the business, or all of these restraints that we've had for the last decade. But believe me, changing the business model that dramatically is really scary.
Yeah.
So
again, you're letting someone else do what you've had control over for 10 years. That's not easy to do. I have a hard time letting my kids do dishes sometimes. Like not wanting to micromanage them doing the dishes, let alone, run your company that you're sending out, food to people that are hoping. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, whenever I get stuff from you, I don't like open one up and eat it at home before I leave. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. So if I'm up on the mountain and it not
better
good,
be good.
like, that could be, that could be a little frustrating. So, that's awesome. But even, something I didn't think about, and I think it's cool that they highlighted, the average everyday people, because a lot of people like myself, I don't watch a lot of TV per se, and so Shark Tank, it used to be when I would watch TV, I'd watch it, but it doesn't really come across my eyeballs. I'm sure a lot of other hunters are the same way. But it's cool that, the average everyday person is able to see that in that market opened up for you, even though you may not have gotten that financial opportunity from those guys. In a way, that exposure is a big deal. It's way more exposure than I could give you, or, the Gritty podcast that I know they use Heather's Choice products, and some other. That's actually where I found you from, was them talking about it. And, it's way more exposure than all of the podcasts that you've been on combined, just going on Shark Tank for 7 minutes or however much airtime it was. That's a big deal. And then you also walked away from that with a lot of learning and opportunities and questions that you were able to get answered. Even if you were the ones answering all the questions, they put more questions in your head that you probably didn't even think to ask before. And yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's been really, again, humbling, and I don't feel like I hear enough of that from other founders. Like the gentleman you mentioned from First Phorm, I would give an arm and a leg to sit down with that guy and talk about his experience in business, because again, I don't think that people realize the mental gymnastics and sort of, again, it's that dark night of the soul that you go through as a founder when you are presented with so many opportunities and so many opinions of what you should do with your business. Like, the people who come out of the woodwork who have never built businesses but still want to tell me the 10,000 things that I'm doing wrong, I'm like, I appreciate that you took the time.
yeah.
And until you've lived this experience and what it's like on this side of the table, I'm having a hard time accepting your feedback. Where, as an example, the 5 sharks sitting there who have all successfully built and scaled businesses and actually achieved financial freedom and gotten to the point that they can support entrepreneurs like me, when they say, Heather,
teams and stuff.
Yeah, they're like, Heather, you are going to drive yourself crazy. You are managing too much. You are doing too many things, and you have to let go. You have to relinquish some control. I'm going to take that to heart and be like, you know what? Maybe Mark Cuban knows a thing or two about building a business. Maybe I should heed this feedback and actually take a hard look at, how would my life change as an entrepreneur if I didn't hold every single function of the business with a death grip? And if I did, in fact, trust that other people could do as good of a job, if not better, what would that do for me in my everyday life? So I am very excited about that.
That I was just thinking about, just because I just looked up, I was wanting to share with people the podcast, or not the podcast, the Shark Tank episode, but I guess they don't really do numbers. People can look it up, just Heather's Choice Shark Tank episode, or I'll provide a link down below that you guys can look at it. But the first screenshot that popped up, you look friggin' jacked. Did you do some push-ups before you went on stage? Like, you're like I mean, you're like, I'm gonna beat you
Hey,
guys up
thanks.
if you don't.
That one thing I did do the night before that, on that Tuesday when the bank account was overdrawn by 15 grand, I went to the gym and
Yeah,
listened to heavy metal in my headphones as loud as it would go to like drown out the reality that I was in. So
yeah,
lifting weights is still, a very
yeah.
important piece of this whole puzzle.
I'm just surprised you have as much hair as you do after the last 2 years. Pulling it
Yeah.
out with everything you're going through. But,
Oh, it's
um,
super gray. Don't worry.
yeah, yeah. But no, in all reality though, if people are wanting to contribute, is there somewhere where people can donate, or is this, what's you mentioned we
We
fund or
funder.
what we funder? Okay, is that something similar to like crowdfunding or something like that, or how can we help for people that are wanting to donate, other than obviously going and buying some of the best backpacking food on the market, or apparently in your kitchen, or soccer moms or pilots or everyone else, um, other than going and buying the meals, where can they go?
Yeah. So after my journey with Shark Tank, it became abundantly clear still need to raise money, still need to pick up and move the business and get some
Yeah.
scalability. We decided to launch a crowdfunding campaign on a platform called WeFunder. And the beautiful thing about this is WeFunder gives people the opportunity to become investors just like the sharks. But instead of people having to be accredited investors, meaning, you have a net worth of more than $1 million, rather than needing to be accredited, a platform like WeFunder allows people to become investors for as little as $100.
Mm.
So we launched our campaign on our 10-year business birthday, August 15th. We've already raised $160,000 through the platform. We're aiming to raise 1.2 million. That's the max that you can do on WeFunder with a financial review. And yeah, it's been incredible to see that people from all walks of life and people who are our customers are showing up and saying, I believe in this enough to make an investment. I think our average investment amount is $500. Our largest is $75,000. But those customers saying, hey, I believe in this. I want to invest. I want to own a small piece of this and I want to contribute and seeing this thing really blossom. So the WeFunder campaign is live. It will be live we're shooting for February as a closing date. And with that $1.2 million, I am going to scale this business and I'm going to make Heather's Choice accessible to a wider audience of people. And I am going to see you at Western Hunting Expo and like finally be released back out into the world
Yeah.
to network, to interact with our customers, to like be out there because I'm not tethered to, once again, buying cardboard boxes and picking and packing orders and chopping onions. So that's my fantasy for the next 6 months of my life.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. So with that, you know, I'm going to leave a link down below for people that can go and donate and become investors over there at WeFunder. Also, of course, guys, go and order some food, and it lasts. I don't remember how many years. I know I had a meal that I didn't quite finish from last year that was still good until next year. So it's what, a couple handful of years. What's the average shelf life?
Yeah, right now the meals have a 2-year shelf life. They're actually lab tested to 5 years. So
Mm.
that will be an update that we will make, here soon with our next round of packaging. So yeah, you can buy it, you can hang on to it
Yeah.
for, the dehydrated dinners 5 years, the packarons are a year. And yeah, I will tell you that someone like my dad has stuff that I made 10 years ago that he's still hanging on to. So he's probably going to start a Heather's Choice museum.
That's awesome. So guys, definitely go grab some food for whether it be your spring hunts, maybe you got some late season hunts, or even for next year, or even to stock up for your food pantry that you've got going on as well. That's something that I do because I treat it as though I've got celiac. I have, they called it pre-celiac or whatever they wanted to call it. They just said avoid wheat and gluten. And so a lot of I think everything out on your list is gluten free.
Yep.
And so again, all of those things are great reasons why you can add them to your pantry and make sure that you've got that food storage as well, because it's an election year, guys. I don't try and get political. I'm sure you guys know where I stand, but with that, it gets crazy. And we never know what's going to happen, unfortunately. So I recommend always having some kind of food storage so you don't have to rely on the grocery stores. So make sure you've got all of those reasons why you should go and pick up some Heather's Choice meals. And then, of course, you can go and invest as well. I'll leave all those links down below. You can also get a discount with the code and link that I have. It supports Heather, supports me, and shows that you came here from the show. So with that out of the way, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about, I know you've been busy, obviously, over the last 2 years, working on getting funding, scaling, moving. Is part of this dream that you have to start creating new meals? Because obviously the ones that you have are amazing, but I'm sure your creative mind wants to go at that, and that just hasn't been a priority because of everything else you've been dealing with. You've had to deal with, you don't have enough time to go and get creative with the spices and the meats and everything else that you need to create new meals, and then obviously make it taste good. The fact that it tastes good as a freeze-dried meal and isn't just mush and calories. Are there some things on the horizon that you've been thinking of, or are you still not quite to that point yet?
No. I'm glad you asked that. This past spring, I did a business accelerator, out of Austin, Texas, and just kind of learned a little bit more of how the CPG, consumer packaged goods game is played. And going through that, we did a really thorough SKU analysis. What sells really well? What doesn't really move? I think you'll get a kick out of this. The grass-fed bison chili is 13% of our revenue, which is a staggering amount across 22 products. So it's like, how do you ensure you never go out of stock of this? The lentil vegetable soup, nobody really buys it. That meal is freaking delicious, but it doesn't move. That goes away. Make more chili. So in that process, we're actually going from 22 to 14 products next year.
I was going to say, actually, here's what you could do. Instead of calling it lentil vegetable soup,
Mm-hmm.
like lentil protein power or something like
Right.
that. Right? Like,
Yeah, totally.
Like, you see vegetable soup and you're like, like, I think
Yeah.
it may be sitting around a fire. And I still want meat in the soup, but at the same time, like, I know there's good ingredients and nutrients from a lentil soup, but yeah, vegetable soup, I could see like the hunters being like, yeah, I'm gonna go towards the bison. Bison's just American raw power,
Totally. It's like our best sellers are grass-fed bison chili, grass-fed beef shepherd's pie, grass-fed beef spaghetti, smoked sockeye salmon chowder, like those
so
meals are nuts.
One is one that I didn't, and I did place an order, and I got, I think it's 8 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get that though, I will be trying it because it's hard to find. I don't think there are any noodle backpacking foods that are gluten-free, and so that one was interesting. I can't remember, was that a newer one or?
We've had that one for a while, but in 2022 in the spring, we kind of gave it a facelift. And we had the new packaging, and
it might be.
It's
I just didn't
real
look at it
good.
It was noodles.
Yep.
That might have been it. But yeah, I'm excited about that one. But yeah, the shepherd's pie, bison chili, and the sockeye salmon, that is delicious. Like, it's not fishy. It's really good. And everyone I've given a bite to, they're like, that doesn't really sound good, And then I give it to them, they're like, holy crap.
Yeah, that meal is freaking dynamite.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to make more of that stuff. And then I'll give you a little teaser. There's definitely a new packaroon flavor coming because you can never make enough packaroons. We currently have the seasonal flavors that people are, going nuts over. But my dream scenario, still with Heather's Choice, I've always wanted to have limited edition seasonal products that are, I would say, really unique to the location that we're in. And again, this is kind of a big teaser, but as an example,
pumpkin spice, guys.
Yeah, she's gonna say pumpkin spice. As an example, like Brad and I just harvested our entire backyard of vegetables. Potatoes, carrots, beets, way too much kale, all this stuff. You and I both know that, you harvest all this stuff and now you've got this really concentrated timeline of like, I've either got to eat 50 pounds of potatoes or like they're going to go bad because storing them when you don't have a garage and it's 20 below outside is a fallacy. what I've always wanted to do is take something like all of that kick-ass, beautiful produce that I have and make a limited edition, big-ass batch of, gluten-free minestrone soup, which the samples I've given out so far, people are nuts over. But have it be limited edition, have it say, made with 70% local ingredients to where we are, and be able to actually tell a story of food security and quality and nutrition and give people something that they're like, damn, this tastes like a home cooked meal and I feel so nourished after this. And it's a really complex idea, but it's something that I'm really excited about for next year because I do think there's a world that we can release limited edition products that have a real strong story behind them that bring people even closer to what does it mean to spend, X number of weeks out in the woods, getting your own animal, bringing home your own protein, and that connection that you have to that food and how healthy and nourishing and good it is for you and how much more deeply satisfied you feel after a meal that includes the elk that you just got. That's a completely different eating experience than feeding you a beef stroganoff made with whatever. Like, you don't care where those ingredients came from.
Yeah.
You don't care the nutritional value. It is just straight up calories. So that's kind of a long-winded way to say that I have an idea that is brewing. It's just very logistically complicated. So you're going to have to give me some time.
You're going to do some pumpkin spice drops. So you drop it in, it's like hot chocolate just melts,
Yeah.
Into the boiled water. Yeah. So that, those are all, I think those are all really good. I didn't realize you had 22 SKUs. That's a lot
It's a lot.
For a smaller company that is growing. I mean, that, and people think, well, 22 items, it's not a big deal, but, and it depends on your growth strategy, obviously, but there's a couple different ways. And if you're trying to grow smaller to bigger in a small scale and keep quality instead of trying to produce quantity, you want less SKUs generally, because that's just kind of, you give people less options and people are like, oh, I want more options. Well, not really. Like, look at Costco. They really don't have all the options that you think they do. They keep very limited stock on whatever item it is, and they rotate through them. Another one, again, I don't know how much you know about Montana Knife Company, but have you ever spoken with Josh or Brandon Harho?
No, I would love to.
We need to get you guys connected because Josh is the knife maker. And kind of the behind the scenes business, but Brandon Harho is just their story is awesome, and how they started out with just one knife. They didn't think they literally, the first drop that they did, there's a couple hundred knives. They had to go and actually buy. They sold out within the first, I don't even remember, like hour or so. And they had to actually go buy boxes from Walmart to ship them out because they didn't have enough boxes. They had that little faith in the fact that it would sell out overnight, that they were still waiting on their shipment of boxes to come in when they put it live. And, they've definitely built off of that, the high quality, not for everyone. It's not in the same price range as a buck knife from Walmart, but it's going to last you longer, lifetime guarantee, and limited drops kind of deal. So, they've done it, and they've done it all American made, US. They've scaled up to 60 employees in 3 years. So,
wow.
Yeah. And just from last year to this year, they doubled their number of employees. So, it's a crazy story. And I actually love listening to that podcast on repeat when Brandon goes in and actually has a moment. They joke about it, and I'm sure you and Brad are similar, where Brandon's like, he's like, man, we share a wall, but I never see you. Like, and he's like, this is the first time I've come on the podcast, and you've had the podcast for 3 years, like, it's just one of those things, and, but anyway, I love listening to that, and just kind of how they talk about, again, their pride and joy is the growth of employees and how they're providing that for Fringetown, Montana, which is not as scaled down as Anchorage, Alaska, but it's pretty remote out there. It's not a big town, like Billings or something like that. And so anyway, cool stories. I'd love to get you guys connected because they definitely have some whatever magic works in their brain. It works.
Yeah. Well, and that would be forever interesting to talk to them about, again, of like how they funded that growth. And I'm sure that for them, there's a big aspect of, it being direct to consumer. People pay at time of order. There's not that huge cash outlay for fulfilling retail orders. And yeah, it would just, I love those conversations to understand how other people think about their businesses, because I do realize that for me as a founder too, when you haven't seen something done before, it's really hard to conceptualize it and to believe that it's possible. So to meet with somebody like that, that's like, yeah, this is our strategy for releasing new limited edition products, and this is the cadence that we do it, and this is how we manage it. It's like, oh, somebody else is doing it and they're doing it really well. This is now possible for me. Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome. I'm trying to think here of some other guys, I'm sure Heather's already swamped with everything, but down below, leave what you'd like to see that's a gluten-free meal that you'd enjoy in the backcountry.
Yeah.
And I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to happen, but we want some ideas. Let's hear what you got out there, because it's one of those things too that everyone talks about these other meals that they'll grab last minute or whatever that's available, and how it tears their gut up, or they can't share a tent with someone else because the other person gets pissed off at what comes out. And I actually had this discussion. I had a buddy join me for 3 days of the hunt, and we were talking about that. And he was eating some of the meals that you brought up, beef stroganoff and some pesto or whatever. And he was like, it tastes good, but like, I just can't, I have to sleep by myself because like, I can't, no one can stand being around me. And I hear that a lot. And I just said to him, like, I don't have that issue. It's no different whether I'm home or out on the mountain. And he was like, really? And so I was just kind of showing him and getting him a taste of, I think it was the shepherd's pie that night and probably bison chili the next night. And he was like, wow, that's really good. And some of these other meals, they come in, they give you the calorie percentage, or half of the package is X. And it's like, well, like, yes, I know I'm supposed to eat the full package for the calorie, but some days I don't want to. And that's not good cold the next day. And then how do you warm it up? And you have that dilemma versus yours. If I'm thinking I need the extra calories, I'll pack 2 meals, but generally yours run around 600 calories, 550 to 600, which is one portion serving of most of the other ones that give you half of the bag as a portion. It's like, it just makes it inconvenient to have to eat either the whole thing or to store it and then eat it kind of nasty later, which in general, I just throw it out. Right. So, the smaller packaging.
We know, like dealing with food waste in the backcountry is a whole thing, because we've gotten that from people a lot. They're like, why don't you make double servings? I'm like, just buy 2. Yeah. If you really need twice that much food. But to your point, I don't think that people realize that to stomach and digest 1,200 calories in a sitting, no wonder you have a stomach ache. That's a lot of food.
And all that sodium, which honestly you do need because you're sweating it out. But in one solid, it's like dropping a brick on your stomach, and saying, hey, it's like multivitamins. I personally don't take the compacted once daily men's multivitamin. I take usually either a powder dissolved in a liquid or gel caps or something, because I notice that it doesn't hurt my stomach, when I'm taking the other ones, because they're actually getting digested. By the time a hard pressed pellet goes through your system, you're only digesting like 70 or 80% of it. And if that, like 50% of that, you're actually intaking as the nutrient, so it's similar with trying to drop 1,200 calories and some people can handle it. I've got a buddy that he's like a trash compactor and he's fine, but
we all have those friends.
Yeah, he'll eat 2 of those 1,200 calorie meals in one sitting. I'm like, dude, what the? And he's jacked, like he's a healthy dude. But I can barely stomach one of those. Most of the time, I don't even get through a whole one. So, I appreciate the portion sizing, the quality of the meals. They always taste good. Never had an issue with that. They don't ever underhydrate. Like it's just you do a really good job with the quality. It's a really
Thank
good,
you.
really really good product. So highly recommended. I think you guys are in BlackOvis as well, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
Yeah.
then Go Hunt, like I said, Sportsman's Warehouse, Shields, REI. We've got almost 200 independent retailers across the US. Like I say, we have one major retailer launching next year that I'm
Yeah.
excited about. And yeah, if I could do anything for 2025, it would actually be in stock, because I will say that the last few years, it's like, hey, thanks for coming to the website. You can't have it. We don't have it. Get in line. Like, since
Yeah.
June, we've had a 6 to 8 week lead time on the website, and I'm blown away that people still do place orders. But I would like to get to the point that, we're in stock, we're actually of service to people, and
Mhm.
we're not basically like, sorry, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll call you later.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome, and I think it's a really good goal. Obviously, you want to be there and available for people. Um, again, I can't recommend it enough. And guys, if you're in the market, you're already buying gear. I've got a code over at BlackOvis as well that you can apply to Heather's Choice stuff. But if you're going in for meals, head over to Heather's Choice directly, or you can pick it up at the other stores that you mentioned, which all of those stores are better than Walmart anyway. So you definitely would. I'd rather go into a Shields than a Walmart any day of the week. So
So
definitely
you
go
can
check
ride the
those.
Ferris wheel, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, exactly. No, that's awesome. Is there anything else that we haven't hit on that maybe you'd like to give to the audience or bring up?
I just appreciate anybody who takes the time to hear my story, because again, I feel like it's been epic. It's been super freaking hard. Like, I've made every mistake under the sun. It has not been an overnight success story. But for the people out there who, haven't gone from 0 to 60 employees in 3 years, or who haven't, had massive overnight success, I think that I want to normalize that it's okay. It's okay to grind. It's okay to like keep after something until you get there, no matter how long it takes.
Hmm.
And I don't know that people know this about my background, but prior to starting Heather's Choice, I was an eating psychology coach and a sports nutritionist. And the number of people who gave up on themselves, of like, I tried dieting, I tried working out, it didn't work, and they just quit, and they don't try again, and they don't give themselves the grace to fail and to try something on for size and to be like, man, that didn't work. What about that didn't work?
Hmm.
And I think that my life journey, if I was to do one thing, it would be, to be an example of tenacity and to show people like it's okay to try and fail. And all that matters is that you get up and try again. And that will be a point of pride I will have with Heather's Choice forever, of win, lose, or draw. Nobody will be able to say that it, nobody will be able to say that I didn't try. And I can rest easy on that.
Decided to shut off on me for some reason.
Oh, that's all
But
right. Look at you and
yeah,
your backup camera.
I know, right? Yeah, that's my webcam. The no, but in all reality, uh, your journey is amazing. It's amazing that you've stuck with it as long as you have, and that you've stood by your values and the things that you really appreciate, that you want to have in life, and you want to provide to other people as well. That's something that not a lot of people um, not a lot of people can stand by their own values, or like I said, hold down a job for 2 years, without getting upset about something, or something's too hard, so I'm going to quit, or whatever it is. And I would agree that that needs to kind of be normalized and spoken about for entrepreneurs. That, hey, look, if you're looking to get into this, um, don't just quit your job and do like find a way to make extra time. You may have to sleep less or whatever. And again, bringing up Josh's journey on that, he was a lineman, and didn't want to quit his job because he was making good money, before Montana Knife Company. and knew that it would be rough and a difficult journey. And so it's not just quit and do whatever. There's a lot of work, a lot of time, sleepless nights, tears shed, over onions and actual problems.
Totally.
And it's all part of the journey. And I really hope that more people are able to reach out to you, help you out with this, and we want to get you over here to Oregon. Again, give me another reason to go to Oregon. I need to visit that state one of these days. Maybe 2025 will be the year.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And, so with all that being said, guys, definitely go check out Heather's Choice. I'll leave the links down below. Go follow their social media. And of course, if you're going to go and help by investing, I'll leave that link down below as well, so you can go and help out. And go check out the Shark Tank episode. And now you know the backstory of the hour that you didn't get to see of the drama and Heather crawling out of there in tears. And
there's so much more to tell. But again, that'll get written in a book someday, and people will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's such a ridiculous story. And again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would do it all over again tomorrow.
No, for sure. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Heather. Thank you so much for hopping on here. And guys, go check out all the links down below. Save you some money. Get the best backpacking food, home food, soccer mom food, hunting food,
college
all
kids,
the different scenario food on the market. Which actually, I just thought about it. Maybe I should do. They did like a Super Size Me for 30 days. He did McDonald's only, whatever. Maybe I should do a Heather's Choice challenge.
I love this. I will tell you that my warehouse girl, Quinn, I swear to you, she lives on Heather's Choice. And I bet she will eat Swiss muesli for breakfast every day, spaghetti for lunch, African peanut stew for dinner, countless packaroons, and she's miniature. It's unbelievable the amount of food this girl can put down. But if anybody wants to take a 30-day Heather's Choice challenge, I will sponsor that. You will feel great, and you will look awesome, and I will sponsor that whole thing.
I might have to do that in January after hunting season, and do.
I love it.
Do a 30 days. Start the new year off 30 days. I'll probably supplement with First Phorm protein, but outside of that, I dig it. Heather's Choice meals 3 a day. I think I could do that. So
I've done it on backcountry trips,
guys. We'll see how that goes.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I really appreciate the time. It's always good to connect with you.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been 2 years. We need to make it less than 2 years next time.
Yeah. You know where to find me.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to sign out. And again, go check out Heather's Choice. All the links are down below. Thanks again for tuning in. And like I always say, get out, live your life, and love it. Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Go and leave a review on the episode. I really appreciate you doing that. If you're not in the market for buying any of the gear that I've talked about, either today with Heather and Heather's Choice, my favorite backpacking meals, if you don't need that, then go check out any of the other gear that maybe you're shopping for. Save some money, get the best price possible and the best gear in your hands, and support me and my partners by doing so. If you're not in the market for purchasing gear, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It's free. It helps way more than you know, and I appreciate that support as well. And after listening to this conversation, hopefully you go over to Heather's Choice and you either become an investor like we discussed, or you purchase some of the meals, because I will tell you they are the best on the market. So all of that to be said, guys, have a great rest of your Saturday. If you're out in the whitetail woods, good luck, because that's where I'm at right now. If you're out hunting muleys or elk or whatever it may be, good luck in your season. Have a great one. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it.